So, good morning, students. Today we will move further in the second video of your second unit, and we stopped at basically factors affecting selection of research design. So, we'll start from here. So, in the earlier lectures, we talked about what is a research design, how to proceed with the research design, and what are the steps involved in selecting a good research design. So now we'll discuss about what all are the factors that affect the selection of your research design. Then the first is the nature of the research problem. Obviously, the type of the research that you're doing affects your research design. For example, if you're going for an experimental research, means where you need to test the physical entity present in the universe, then you go for an experimental research design. If you want to test something in detail, you need to test the theory, the effectiveness, and the sustainability of a particular entity in this universe. Then you go for a descriptive research design. So, generally, what type of problem you're solving with the research affects your research design. Then, the purpose of the study also affects your research design. Why you're conducting a particular study, what you will get out of that study. If you're going for a correlative study, then generally correlation applied. If you're going for a prediction, then my dear, rationality theorems, they get applied, and these types of study are conducted in general. Then the third thing that affects your research design is your knowledge of the researcher and experience. Now, I would like to quote here that many times what happens is that in order to find a single value of a particular variable, there are number of tests that can be applied. For example, if you're working on two different samples, then either you can apply ANOVA or you can apply t-test. But it totally depends upon the knowledge of the researcher. For example, if the researcher has never ever studied ANOVA, then generally he will go for t-test, which is absolutely fine. No problem with t-test also. And many of the times, even if the researcher is knowing about ANOVA, but he in his past he has faced some problem while applying ANOVA, then also he won't apply ANOVA, although he knows everything about ANOVA, that ANOVA is far more better than t-test. So many of the times, instead of using ANOVA in his research design, he will use a t-test. And even if he is having, you know, he has faced lots and lots of problem with ANOVA, then even when he's having 3 sample or 4 sample or 5 samples, he will go for multiple t-test rather than applying ANOVA. Why? And because he has had a very bad past experience by using ANOVA. So it totally depends upon the knowledge and the experience of the researcher, which type of test he would be applying in his research design. Then comes the researcher's interest and motivation. Many of the times a particular research design is selected because that has helped the researcher to get faster result. So that is the motivational factor behind using a particular research design. And it is not that if a researcher is using a particular kind of a design, then that research design is not good or it is very good. It completely depends upon the interest of the researcher, that how he need to tackle a particular problem. But if you're using a research design without going for a proper detailed study and casually you're using any particular research, that might lead to the failure. Then comes okay, then comes the research ethics and principle. Now, whenever we conduct a particular research, the thing that is taught to most of the PhD scholars and even to the guides, that you cannot ask for the data of your subordinate or the data of your students. The data that you have collected is for your own purpose, that you can use in future also for generating more and more research papers. But that data need not to be shown to anyone else. In fact, you can hide it from your guide also, although nobody hides from the guide. But still, if you want to hide, guide cannot pressurize you to show him your data. Rather, you can show him the data on your own laptop, but you cannot share that data with him. You cannot give him in a pen drive, or you cannot mail that data. You're not supposed to do. Means if you want to disobey that, yes, I'm not giving you the data, it's fine, nobody can harm you. So in research, basically what happens is that you don't share your data with anyone, but many of the tests cannot be you know validate you cannot validate many of the tests without looking into the data. So generally it is an advice that is given to all the researchers, all the PhD students, that try to follow the ethics. If you're not getting a particular value, don't fudge the data. Means don't manipulate the data. If you're not getting a particular value, my dear, try to find out why we are not getting a particular value. And the most importantly is, go to the field and collect the primary data. Don't just sit at home and write down 4 5 6 4 5 6. This won't help you. And ultimately you won't, if you're fudging the data, automatically you'll get the desired result. But you don't know how to overcome a problem if a particular primary data is not giving you the desired result. Then how to tackle that problem? Because you have never faced that problem. You have always edited the data. So that is one research ethics and principle, that whenever you are incorporating any kind of research design, don't merely copy it from anybody else's research paper and then apply that theorem in your research paper. Try to study everything, why he has applied a particular research design, what were his limitations, can you overcome those limitations? Because a good research paper is generally uh, any research which is overcoming the limitations of other research. So try to overcome it, then only you can find more and more outputs of your research. Then your research design also depends upon what who are the respondents for collecting the primary data, and what are the factors that are influencing those respondents. So in-depth qualitative research can only give you a qualityful research design. Then many of the times you should also take into consideration the resources. For example, like you all know, SPSS is one of the best software to conduct any research in social science, but many of the universities are not even having SPSS. So your first you know uh, objective gets failed then and there, because you are doing research from such a university that is not having SPSS. So what to do? Generally then you can rely upon you know data analysis of Excel, or you can rely on advanced Excel. Then many of the researchers have even seen that many of the researchers are now applying JAWS, JAWS. It is again another software that can do few of the researches that can already be done on SPSS. But JAWS is free of cost and online available software, whereas SPSS you need to purchase it, and the cost of purchasing SPSS is quite high. So money could be one constraint to your research. Equipments could be other, facility, support from the colleagues or the support from your seniors. So many of the times students find a problem while arranging the resources, and that's why they fail to select a proper research design. For example, if you want to apply, if you want to study the correlation between you know two different variables, then if you're having SPSS, you will go for SPSS. But generally, when you're trying to study correlation between two different variables, you should go for structural equation modeling. Now, for structural equation modeling, you require another software, which is MOS. So generally, researchers avoid that kind of situation. Although he won't be able to make the assessor understand why he has not applied MOS. And you cannot give this excuse that because my university was not having MOS, that's why I have not applied MOS. That's an incorrect statement. So, but still, your selection of the research design also depends upon what resources you are having. Then time is another deciding factor. If you're having ample amount of time, you can go for huge amount of data, and that will be an unbiased data that will give you better results. But if you're having shorter time, then you try to get the data from very few respondents, which can lead to a biased selection and give you false results. Then what are the users of the study findings? Whenever you are having different methods for data collection and for data analysis, you should be able, means you should have that ability to decide which research design would be appropriate, so that the users of my study would be able to take maximum advantage of the results that I have conducted. Then, are you able to control the extraneous variables and maximize the results by decreasing the conditions of affecting variables that also results affects your research design. So if you are having such a research design which can control the effect of extraneous, means external variables, then you should use that research design. Now the next topic is, what are the characteristics of a good research design? So let's start. A good research design is a design which is structured systematically. Now, what do you mean by this statement, that structured systematically? It should be, the flow of the questionnaire should be in a systematic manner. For example, you cannot go for like, let's say we are trying to study the satisfaction level of an individual with the use of a product. So initially you cannot go like this, that initially you are asking, okay, which product do you use from our organization, and then you're using then you're going for the personal information, that name, age, gender, and then again you are incorporating some study variable, that okay, from which location do you. So you should be in a structured manner. If you're trying to jot down the personal information, then you take the personal information in the starting and then go for questionnaire. Or if you're going for the questionnaire first, then go for the questionnaire and try to get all the personal details in the end. The flow should be correct. Then whenever you are getting the data from doing primary research, or whenever you're trying to collect the primary data from the field, try to be logical. Try to make the respondent understand why you're conducting this research, and how this research will help an individual in getting advantage in future. So your research should be meaningful, it should be logical. Then the third thing is, your research should be empirical in nature. Means if you're getting data from the field, then your data should be such that the evaluator should be, or even you yourself should be able to check the validity and the reliability of the data. Then the fourth thing is that a good research design, it should be replicable. Now, what do you mean by the replicable, my dear? The results can be verified with, by using more than one tools or more than one techniques. You should have such a data that 2 or 3 tests can be determined to check the validity. 1 to 2 tests should be there to check the reliability, so that it can be proved that yes, by 2 or 3 means you have already checked the reliability and validity. Again and again the same thing is coming, that yes, your data is reliable. This value shows that your data is reliable. This value also shows that your data is reliable, and these two values shows that your data is valid. So, when again and again same thing is coming, then the assessors are bound to accept what you're saying. Then few points are, at a good research design should be efficient, flexible, economic, appropriate, so on. And it should have less errors. Means the alpha value should be as low as possible, even if the beta value is increasing. That you have already know, means in a particular research, there are two types of errors. One is called as alpha error or the type 1 error, and the other is called as a beta error or the type 2 error. and generally the alpha error is much more hazardous as compared to the beta error. So we always tries to minimize the effect of alpha. And the great thing about this is that they both are inversely proportional to each other. If you will reduce alpha, beta will automatically increase and vice versa. So generally we try to decrease the value of alpha because it is much more hazardous, and then we try to control beta somehow or the other by changing the conditions, by selecting a good research design, by selecting a good questionnaire. And last but not the least, that the objective of the research problem and the problems that you are focusing also affects your research design. So then there are some definitions, or you can say few terms that you should be clear with while conducting a good research design or while selecting a good research design. Then there are variables, anything that can incorporate the value of a respondent. A variable, as the name suggests, can vary for each and every individual. It is different. For example, you're asking the gender of the respondent, so either it will be male or it will be female depending upon what type of respondent you are focusing on. So anything which controls a value and can vary depending upon certain conditions is your variable. Then extraneous variables. Extraneous variables are external variables that affect your study, that affect your research design. For example, if you are saying y is equals to 5x plus 3, so here the external variable that is affect the value of your y is x. So you should have a concept to how to control that extraneous variable. But generally, whenever your hypothesis is having a relationship, or whenever the variable that you're trying to find out is dependent upon some other variable which cannot be controlled, because x can have any value, it cannot be controlled. You cannot say that x cannot be negative. X can be negative also, x can be positive also, x can be zero also. So anything can happen. So here the value x in a particular linear equation, the value of x would be an extraneous variable, an external variable which cannot be controlled. Intraneous or the internal variables, they can be controlled. Then control again. If the effect of external variable or the extraneous variable, if you can minimize, you cannot, obviously you cannot control the effect of external variable, but if you can somehow minimize the effect, that is called as getting control over the extraneous variables. Then what is another term, that is confound relationship. When any extraneous variable, or you can say whenever the relationship between the dependent and the independent variables cannot be differentiated from each other, means the influence of external variable will always be there with the independent variable, then the relationship between the dependent and the independent variable is always said to be confound relationship. Then, my dear, research hypothesis, any statement that you are testing while conducting a particular research, that is called as a hypothesis. So generally in every research we have two hypotheses that we will study in the fourth or the fifth unit, that is the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. But till here you can examine that whenever we are conducting research, we are trying to prove or disapprove a particular statement. So that statement which we are testing, for example, we are testing that whether getting good marks ensures a good career. Getting good marks in the any external or internal test ensures a good career. So you're testing this particular statement. So any statement which is put under testing while conducting a research is called as research hypothesis. Then there are experimental and non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Examine whenever the independent variable in the research is manipulated, then it is called as experimental hypothesis testing research. And whenever the independent variable in the research is non-manipulated, is called non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Now, how we will do it? For example, again, let's take the previous example, whether getting results ensures a good career. Now, how you will check if a respondent is in class 8th? How you can check whether he ensures a good career or not? Generally, let's say let's take it in a different way. We want to check, there are two parts. We want to check if you're giving more time to your study, whether you will get a good career. Just a random research that if you are investing more time in your study, will you get a good career? This is one thing that you're checking. So if a respondent is in class 8th and let's say he is giving 4 hours on daily basis to his study, then how will you ensure that whether he'll be getting a good career or not? Basically, you will be checking the marks of the student, the performance of the student, the behavior of the student. But these all things does not ensure a good career. Maybe they can, but what you are doing, you are trying to manipulate. मीन्स अगर आप हिंदी में इसको समझना चाहें तो ये कुछ ऐसा है कि आप एक बच्चे के मार्क्स कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं। पहले आप उस बच्चे से पूछ रहे हैं कि वो कितना घंटे अपनी स्टडी में लगाता है, फिर आप उसके बेसिस पे देख रहे हैं कि उसके मार्क्स कितने आ रहे हैं, और फिर उसके बेसिस पे आप उसके करियर को जज करेंगे। अगर उसके अच्छे मार्क्स आ रहे हैं तो आप ये कहेंगे उसका करियर आगे चल के अच्छा होगा, जो कि प्रॉपरली सही नहीं है। आर मार्क्स डज नॉट इंश्योर और डज नॉट टेल्स यू एनीथिंग अबाउट योर करियर। बट यहाँ पर पे हमारे पास 15 साल 20 साल तो नहीं रुक सकते ना हम, तो हम उसके मार्क्स पे ही उसका करियर बताएंगे। तो यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हैं, आप अपने इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल को मैनिपुलेट कर रहे हैं। लेकिन अगर आप बताते हैं कि क्या ज्यादा पढ़ाई में समय देना मेरे लिए बेटर मार्क्स लाएगा, तो यहाँ पे आप अपने वेरिएबल को मैनिपुलेट नहीं कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक चीज है आपका समय, दूसरा है आपका मार्क्स। तो दोनों जनरली डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, बोथ आर इंडिपेंडेंट विद ईच अदर। कई बच्चों को 2 घंटे पढ़ के भी सब कुछ समझ में आता है, कहीं को 6 घंटे पढ़ के भी कुछ समझ में नहीं आता। सो बेसिकली these types of research are called as non-experimental hypothesis testing research. Then moving on further, then we have experimental and control groups. My dear, whenever in a research, generally whenever you conduct a research, your variables are exposed to usual conditions. तो जब भी आप रिसर्च करते हैं यूजुअल कंडीशंस के अंदर, यानी नॉर्मल कंडीशंस के अंदर, तो वो टर्म कहलाती है कंट्रोल ग्रुप। बट जब आप रिसर्च करते हैं अंडर सम स्पेशल कंडीशंस, देन दैट टर्म इज कॉल्ड एज एक्सपेरिमेंटल ग्रुप। फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आप से लेट्स से 6 महीने पहले आप कोई रिसर्च करते कि यू आर ट्राइंग टू एग्जामिन द सेल्स ऑफ योर प्रोडक्ट in a particular shop, then it would have been a controlled group research. Getting it? But if now you will study under the effect of corona that what would be the sales of my product in a particular store, now this is a special condition, my dear. We are fighting from COVID-19. So this type of research would come under an experimental group research. Then treatments, my dear. Whenever you are trying to do research under different conditions, like under experimental group, then control group, then generally such you know such types of things or such types of measures are called as treatments. Means whenever you are trying to do research under different conditions, then you in research you call those different conditions as treatments. Then experiment, whenever you are trying to check the truth of your hypothesis, that is called as conducting an experiment. Experiment generally doesn't means that going in a lab mixing 2 3 chemicals or detecting something new. That is not it. In research, whenever you are checking the testing the hypothesis, that is called as experiment. And whenever you are having different treatments, different respondents, they are called as experimental units. So in the next lecture, we will be talking about 3 types of research design, that is exploratory research design, descriptive research design, and experimental research design. Till then, thank you very much.